Hey there, Alex Kidman, and I've been spending a bit of time of late testing out Apple's new iPhone models. So we have here on the left the iPhone 12 and on the right the iPhone 12 Pro. And if you're looking at them, you're probably thinking, wow, they do look very similar. Well, the reality is they are very similar phones. And in previous years, Apple would have tended to say, hey, the Pro phones, these are the ones that got all the big flashy features. There's a huge difference between the non-Pro and Pro models. That has not been the case this year, and it leaves the open question of which one should you buy. Now, I'm making a couple of assumptions here. I am presuming that you are keen on buying an iPhone. Yes, there are loads of very good value Android phones out there. I quite like Android, and there's some very good arguments in its favour. But the reality here is lots of people also like iPhones, and they're looking for upgrade options, and they're considering it. So let's have a look at the variables. First of all, cost. And I'm going here with Australian prices. Your local prices, wherever you're watching this, may vary quite a bit. Although probably not that much. Apple is moderately consistent with its pricing worldwide these days. So here in Australia, the baseline iPhone 12 will run you $1,349 with 64 gig. The baseline iPhone 12 Pro will run $1,699 with 128 gig. Obviously, 64, 128, that's not like for like, but you can get a 128 gig iPhone 12. That'll cost you $1,429. And so that's the comparison I'm going to use. That $270 price difference between the regular iPhone 12 and the higher end iPhone 12 Pro. The 12 Pro basically has to be worth that extra $270 at that same storage price tier. But is it? Well, let's look at the design. And look, yeah, from the front, these look all but identical. They've got the same 6.1 inch, 2532 by 1170 pixel Retina display. As always, Retina is Apple's fancy marketing term that doesn't actually mean all that much. Now, they are different construction materials. So the 12 is an aluminium phone. Sorry, Americans, that's aluminium, not aluminum. And the 12 Pro is stainless steel. You get different color choices as well. So the 12 is available in black, white, blue, product red, or as I've got here, the green model. Whereas the 12 Pro in stainless steel comes in graphite, silver, gold, or the Pacific blue that I've got here. Now, that's mostly an aesthetic thing. Yes, stainless steel is technically a little bit tougher, but you should probably be throwing a case onto these things anyway. If you said to me, hey, which phone of these colours do you want, Alex? I'd say, hey, the Pacific Blue, but that's because I like blue phones and I like that particular tone. Totally an aesthetic play there. There is a difference, though, and it's to do with brightness. So the 12 Pro can go up to 800 nits, typical brightness. The 12 maxes out at 625 nits. Now, you might think, well, that gives the automatic advantage to the 12 Pro. It's going to look better in bright sunlight and so on. And yeah, look, to an extent, at that maximum, it does, or it can, although I've always found that you can just tilt the phone, turn where you're looking, and it's still fine. Where that does play in, and I'll get to this in a minute as well anyway, is in battery life, because you do pay a little bit more, of course, for that extra brightness. In real world, everyday use, it's pretty much same. Flip them over, of course, and you do see the other big difference, which is the cameras. And this is where the 12 Pro should be the Pro phone, because obviously there's that extra lens and the LiDAR scanner. So the two lenses, the 12 megapixel wide and the 12 megapixel ultra wide, they're exactly the same modules across both phones. Apple's a bit sneaky here. You can't chop and change them because there's software stuff you've got to do. That's a repair issue. But the 12 Pro does have that additional 12 megapixel, 2x optical zoom lens and a LiDAR scanner. Now, the LiDAR, the depth sensor scanner, it's a neat bit of technology. We first saw it on the iPad Pro. Is it vital? Not yet. And the issue here really is both of these cameras can take great general photos. And the nice thing about iPhone photography, I find, is that it makes it very easy to take nice photos. It's a very controlled experience overall, and that's true for either of these. Are you going to get a lot of benefit out of it? 2x telephoto? Maybe, but the really big problem here, just pushing the 12 to the side, is of course there is another, and that's the 12 Pro Max, which I would feature here, but obviously it doesn't yet exist for consumers or indeed reviewers to talk about or play with. We'll get there. And I think at this point, you'd be mad to buy a 12 Pro before the 12 Pro Max is available. On paper, on specification, it should outshoot this. And so if you're really keen on your iPhone photography, that pretty much it is going to be the model to buy. It's got a better telephoto lens, it's got better low light performance. Frankly, if Apple can't make it the best iPhone camera, then something is badly wrong with the 12 Pro Max, and I just don't see that happening. Still, these are really, really pleasant camera phones to use. They don't 100% live up to that best low light performance in the market claim that Apple makes. There are Android phones that I think outshoot them in low light situations, but look, they're way better than previous generation iPhones when it comes to that, if you're looking at that upgrade question. What about at a processor level? Well, here again, there is one key difference. They're both running on the Apple A14 Bionic, and that's a beast of a processor. The A13 still outpaces most of its largely Qualcomm competition anyway. The difference here is in RAM. The 12 Pro has 6 gig, the 12 has 4, and look, it's to Apple's engineering credit that it can get so much slick performance out of just 4 gig of RAM, or even 6 actually. But in day-to-day usage, are you going to see it? Do you see a huge difference? No, you don't. You really don't. And that's actually more to do with the fact that there's just not a lot out there that's really pushing these phones to need, huge oodles of processing power. You can run, pretty much whatever you like. You can fire up games, you can fire up all sorts of other applications, and they're fine. They will load nice and quick. They will just run generally. It's all pretty easy to deal with, and they all run well. The practical reality is until we start to see applications that really push the A14, and that might not be for a couple of years, really. I don't think we're going to see a huge difference between the 4 gig and the 6 gig models. At a benchmark level, there is no difference at all, if that matters to you. Okay, so what about battery life? Well, look, here you've got that new design. It's slightly thicker than last year's 11 phones were, and Apple could have thrown larger batteries in. It didn't. They're actually smaller. 2815 milliamp battery in either. That's via iFixit's teardown, not via Apple, because they never talk about that kind of stuff. And you might think, well, same screen, same processor, these are going to have the same battery life, right? It's not actually the case. And this is somewhere where the 12 actually ever so slightly outperforms the 12 Pro, at least in my testing. So what I found was doing things like video streaming, for example, over a period of time. That lower brightness screen, and this was with brightness at maximum on both screens, to give them the biggest battery draw, the brightness on both screens at maximum, I found the 12 outperformed the 12 Pro to about 2 to 3%. And look, 2 to 3%, when you're starting to run low at the end of the day, and with only 2815 milliamp batteries, these things can run out within the day. That's the sad truth of it. But at that level, 2% can make quite a big difference. And obviously, yes, you can scale back what you're doing, you can pull the brightness down and so on. But side by side, head to head, the 12 actually outpaces the 12 Pro. And if you're paying more for the phone, that just shouldn't be the case. Ideally, of course, Apple would have put bigger batteries into both of these phones and potentially a bigger battery into the Pro. It didn't do that, and the end result is that the 12 is a better battery performer. So with all that in mind, which one should you buy? For most people, if you're looking for an iPhone upgrade, I think the 12 is going to be the sweet spot this year. Yes, we've got the 12 mini coming in. It's even cheaper, but it's going to be smaller, which almost inevitably means a smaller battery. Now, if Apple can actually make that happen such that it's got the same battery, could be a different story, but I seriously doubt it. We've also, of course, got the Pro Max, and that, of course, kicks out, I think, the advantage of the 12 Pro because of those improved cameras. And that makes the 12 Pro the rather difficult middle child. I don't think it's the best phone for iPhone users this year. That is going to be the iPhone 12. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What do you think? Have you already bought a new iPhone? Are you waiting on the Pro Max or the Mini? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe.